Be Nike. Just do it. Really. When I took that first step out of my parents' house, that was really the biggest gamble of my life. Hey there, Zesties. One of you asked on some tips on how to manage or get out of procrastination. Well, I'm not an expert, nor this is a self-help podcast. However, all I can do is share my experiences and how I dealt with it, as well as some books or articles that I have come across and thought that might give you an idea on how to tackle your predicament. So, have you heard of the Power Hour? It's a book from by Adrienne Herbert. It introduces the idea that instead of waiting for the perfect time to pursue your goals, then you should make time to do it. This would be devoting 1 hour, in particular the first hour of your day, to pursue your passions and achieve your goals. With this, you should be open to change because the first step to reaching one's goals is to put in the right mindset, and this manifests in taking charge of your day. So, how do we do this on a daily basis? It starts by asking ourselves the 6 questions before 6 a.m. So, it could be, what energy do I want to have today? From whom can I learn? Who can I help? How can I get closer to where I want to be a year from now? What I am most looking forward to today? What things am I grateful for today? Since we have to make a lot of decisions every day and our day is limited to 24 hours only, it's essential to make the most of our time and energy by creating powerful habits. In any case, habit usually triumphs willpower. So, how does this power hour work? It's essential to devote this hour at the start of your day. Why? Because the rest of the world is sleeping and there are fewer distractions and temptations. There are 5 rules that the book has set out to follow in order to be successful with your power hour journey. First and the second rule is to have SMART goals. So it should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So basically, it says that your goals should be specific and time bound, but I just added the SMART goals. Anyway, you should also stick to your why and ask it several times until your answers are thorough and precise. Third, tell someone who wants you to succeed about your plans. Tell them why you chose them as well. This adds more weight on their shoulders. And fourth, monitor, evaluate, and iterate. This data comes from yourself and your trusted advisors, or board of directors as it was called in the book. Fifth, ask for help and guidance to maximize your learning. Okay, so you might ask, Glee, are you following this power hour? Yes and no. So for one, I am a nocturnal person. Therefore, there are some things that a lot of books for that matter, and even a lot of self-help or coaches for that matter have pointed out that you should do all of these things at the start of your day. However, it doesn't really apply to me. Although you could argue that it boils down to having no willpower to do it. Well, I guess most likely that's the case for me. But that does mean that I can't do my own power hour? I don't think so. Because the power hour always emphasizes on the first hour of the day. However, every day, even if I get 8 hours of sleep, I really feel much more energetic at night. Back when I was younger, I usually played my guitar at around 11 p.m. to midnight. And it's the same as what the book said, because the reason why I play my guitar at 11 p.m. is because the world is already asleep. So we have our own circadian rhythms, and there is no one power hour for all. So if you know what I mean, so there's no one size fits all. So for me, I'd say I could devote an hour a day or even 2 hours a day for my passion, but it has to coincide with my circadian rhythm. So for example, I am currently studying for an exam. So after work, I do a bit of relaxation, eat my dinner and stuff, and then I do an hour of studying, and then I do another hour for a bit of creative works. Then I exercise or do my steps. And sometimes I do my steps already at 9 p.m. already, which contrasts the power hour ruling that you have to do it on the first hour of your day. But it kind of works for me. So that's one example of trying to combat procrastination, having your own power hour to get you to a step closer to your goal. I'm going to share my personal experiences on how I deal with when misprocrastination creeps in on me. So for starters, I overthink a lot in anything. You can ask the people close to me and they will definitely tell you that as well. So I even suffer from this thing called analysis paralysis. Well, I am well aware of that. I also do a whole lot of rumination. Although I might laugh about it here, but sometimes it gets quite serious. Rumination and self blame have long been accepted by health professionals as part of the problems that lead to depression and anxiety. This is also backed by research. To name one, the research done by PLOS One, that's PLOS 1, it suggests that a person's psychological response is a much more important factor than what has actually happened to them. So it's very essential to have people you trust surrounding you. I'm very lucky that I have them around me, even physically or not. So for me, it's just that conscious effort of being self aware of those tendencies that help me combat serious procrastination problems. However, my style is to try to prioritize which task is of greater urgency and which ones are not to be treated as urgent. But take note, still I'm still working on those as well. So it's not like all the time. So for instance, when I was in my mid 20s, I was really enjoying my life in the Philippines, so I had a lot of activities here and there. My friends are all there. Life is great. Work life balance is in place. However, I had that feeling that in the future, these things will change and I most likely want to move abroad. So for me, the key is just to start something, even though you don't know the outcome. So I actually started applying for jobs abroad, even just out of Cebu as well. So I did this just casually, not so actively desperate. So I'll share to you one time how I was that desperate. So stay tuned on that on another episode. So my point here is that be Nike. Just do it. Really. When I took that first step out of my parents' house, that was really the biggest gamble of my life. But if I would have failed on that, I would look back without regrets that I tried it. It's cliche, I know, but I guess there's a reason why it's cliche, isn't it? Because it works. Of course, most of our issues are of time, money, and fear and it holds us back from pursuing our passions and our goals. So, for example, oh, I don't have time to play the guitar. Oh, I don't want to leave my loved ones in my hometown, but I wanted to know the world out there, which this is really a very true story for me. And more so, I do not have the money to go abroad or pursue that passion. So I'd say that with all things constant and considering no one is dying, I'd say take that step. Make time for it. There's always a difference between having time and making time, and I think you know what I mean. So when somebody tells me that they are busy, I just take it that it's just not their priority. So whenever procrastination creeps in, I'd say think it out whether the task at hand is a priority or not. If it's not, you can still work on it. Just like what I did before, casually applying for jobs abroad while focusing on the more important things at hand. Then, when the time is right, grab that opportunity. As they say, strike while the iron is hot, right? So while you're waiting for the right opportunity, it's like preparing yourself in advance so that when the time comes, you are already the right version of yourself to be in that position. As the quote says, that I've adhered some time ago, dress up to the job you want. It suggests that presenting yourself in a manner that would look like the person or position you wanted to be in the future. Then you would start acting like one. It's also conducting yourself, learning, growing, and changing in preparation to the job you want is the best way to make that a reality. However, we often do the opposite. I'm kind of guilty on that one as well. However, we are all works in progress. We do the opposite sometimes, like we wait to be appointed before taking action. And it doesn't only apply to jobs. I believe it also applies to any aspect of our life as well. Say for example, you want to move abroad just like me. I did my preparations years before I moved and I just waited when the opportunity came. Although some of you may argue that why wait for the opportunity when I can make that opportunity? Well, I can share that on another episode. And another thing that I would say is to do a lot of self reflection and prayers. I'm telling you, it works wonders. Some say to do a visualization technique as well as writing them down or journalizing. I've just started journalizing lately, so I didn't do this years ago. In the short time that I've been doing it, not religiously though, I do think that it's a good step to reaching your goals. I normally do this at the start of my day if it's a weekend or at the end of my day if it's a weekday. So for the end of the day, I plan for the next day. That's what I do in my journal. And although my plans for the next few days are in my calendar, such as meetings and etc., but the journal entry for the day is more of my plans for the next day. Some people suggest pouring in your reflection for the day as well. However, I have a different approach to it. For me, I try most before I had a diary actually when I was like teenage years, but right now instead of journalizing what I feel, I normally think it through when in my bed already. Otherwise, I pour it in some creative activities or ventures. For the visualization, I'd say the more appropriate word for me is actually daydreaming. So, but seriously, if you try to visualize that you wanted to maybe travel to this country or perhaps perform at some event, well, these are real life examples, guys. It actually helps you to consciously strive for ways on how to make it a reality if you do this visualization technique. But word of caution, Any kind of visualization or daydreaming or even prayers will not get you closer to your goal without proper action. I also think that not being too pessimistic with it gives you more confidence to take the task on. Because if you start with being pessimistic, you lose your focus and you wouldn't bring out the best version of yourself. Of course, it's easier said than done. I myself suffer from being too pessimistic and hard on myself. So the key thing is also to strive the balance between pessimism, optimism, and realism. A lot of self-help coaches always say to be optimistic. Optimism at the right amount is a treasure. But for me, having those three in balance works together. Perhaps I'd say take calculated risks. So, those were my methods and how to combat procrastination. It's not always perfect and it won't work for everyone. I'm also not doing it perfectly, so I'm still working it out. I'd say to know yourself so you could seek out what method works for you. It's sometimes a trial and error venture, but at least you tried and took that step, right? So, if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate or provide your feedback on the podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, or at my Facebook page. You can also send your constructive feedback or episode requests at vanillazestpodcast@gmail.com or in our Instagram account. It's at Vanilla Zest Podcast. I'd greatly appreciate it if you also share this episode to your friends or even in your social media platforms so that more people will be joining our Zesty community. I'm still figuring out my podcasting journey as what I am with my life. But see, I'm taking the step every day. Hope you are too. It may be just baby steps, or even crawling, or just rolling out of bed. As long as you pick yourself up, it counts in your goal pedometer. As I always say, when life is vanilla, put some zest to it. See you on the next episode.